The scent of lavender and pine sol always meant trouble. Mother Dearest was stress cleaning again, probably reorganizing my cabinets or rearranging Emma's toys for the 100th time. I should have known something was wrong when I pulled into the driveway and caught that familiar chemical smell wafting through the open windows. I'm Julia, and until today, I thought I had mastered the art of living with my mother-in-law, Martha. 6 months of practiced smiles, carefully chosen words, and strategic retreats to maintain peace in my own home. But sometimes peace comes at too high a price. "Mommy!" Emma crashed into my legs the moment I stepped through the door, her dark curls wild and untamed. "Grandma Martha says we're having pizza for dinner." Does she now? I kept my voice light, though my stomach clenched. Another dinner decision made without my input. Another small rebellion against my authority in my own home. The house was spotless. Too spotless. Martha's cleaning frenzies usually meant she was building up to something. I found her in the living room, perched on the edge of the sofa like a bird of prey, hands folded primly in her lap. "Julia, dear, how was your outing?" The pause before outing carried enough judgment to fill a courtroom. "The charity lunch was lovely, Martha. Thank you for watching Emma." I moved toward the bookshelf where I kept our family photo album, needing to add some pictures from today's event. The empty space where it should have been made, my heart skip. "Looking for something?" Martha's voice carried that sickly sweet tone she reserved for her special moments of triumph. The photo album. "Oh, that old thing?" She waved dismissively. "I took the liberty of reorganizing your photographs. They were in such disarray. But while I was at it, I couldn't help but notice how few recent pictures you have of Emma. A mother should document every precious moment, don't you think?" My fingers curled into fists. "Where is it, Martha?" She reached beside the sofa and produced a crisp white envelope. "I've written down some thoughts about proper maternal documentation, and perhaps some other areas where a bit more attention might be beneficial." I snatched the envelope, my hands trembling as I pulled out the letter. Each perfectly penned word was a dagger. "Dear Julia, as a mother myself, I feel compelled to address certain concerns regarding Emma's upbringing. Your frequent absences, 3 charity events this month alone, and lack of proper documentation of Emma's childhood moments suggest a troubling pattern of neglect." The letter went on, 2 pages of carefully crafted criticism disguised as concern. My photo album, the one containing every precious memory since Emma's birth, was being held hostage until I demonstrated more maternal responsibility. "Where is my album?" My voice came out steadier than I felt. "Somewhere safe," Martha smiled, "until you've had time to reflect on my suggestions." Emma tugged at my sleeve. "Mommy, can we look at the pictures of my birthday?" I crouched down to her level, forcing a smile. "Not right now, sweetheart. Why don't you go play in your room while I talk to Grandma Martha?" After Emma disappeared upstairs, I turned to face my mother-in-law. "This ends now." "I'm only thinking of Emma's best interests," Martha said, rising from the sofa. "Someone has to." The front door opened and Ryan's voice called out, "I'm home early. Something smells amazing." Martha's face transformed instantly into a mask of maternal concern. "In here, darling. I was just having a heart-to-heart with Julia about some family matters." I watched her glide toward my husband, the letter crumpling in my grip. 6 months of subtle undermining, of questioning my every decision, of trying to drive a wedge between me and my daughter. But stealing my memories? That was her first real mistake, and I was done playing defense. Ryan's fork scraped against his plate, the sound grating against my nerves like fingernails on a chalkboard. He hadn't looked up once during Martha's theatrical recounting of her day with Emma. "And then," Martha continued, dabbing her lips with a napkin, "I showed Emma those lovely ballet videos from when you were young, Ryan. She was absolutely transfixed." "That's nice, Mom." Ryan's attention remained fixed on his phone, probably checking work emails again. I pushed my untouched pizza around the plate, the stolen photo album weighing heavy on my mind. "Emma, sweetie, how about we read that new library book before bed?" "Oh," Martha interjected, "I've already promised to read her the special book I bought today. It's about a little girl who lives with her grandmother. Isn't that right, precious?" Emma nodded, her eyes darting between Martha and me. The hesitation in her expression made my chest tighten. Actually, I said, measuring each word, I'd like to spend some time with my daughter before bed. Martha's smile didn't waver, but her knuckles whitened around her wine glass. Julia, dear, you've had your outing today. Surely you can spare Emma for one bedtime story with her grandmother. Ryan? I turned to my husband, silently pleading for support. He finally looked up, confusion crossing his features. What's the problem? Mom's just trying to help, Jules. You know how busy you've been lately with all these charity events. The betrayal stung worse than I expected. I've attended exactly 3 events in 6 months, Ryan. 3. Now, Julia, Martha's voice dripped with false concern. There's no need to get defensive. We're all family here. Speaking of which, Ryan, did you know Julia missed Emma's dance class last week? I didn't miss, I started, but Martha steamrolled over my protest. Emma was so disappointed when all the other mothers were there for the parent observation day. Ryan frowned. Jules, you didn't mention that. Because it wasn't parent observation day, I snapped. That's next week. I have it marked on the calendar in the kitchen. Martha's eyes widened in practiced innocence. Oh dear, did I get the dates mixed up? I could have sworn... Well, no matter, I was happy to step in regardless. Emma's small voice cut through the tension. Mommy, my tummy hurts. I pushed back from the table, grateful for the excuse to escape. Come on, sweetheart, let's get you upstairs. In Emma's bathroom, I held her hair back as she threw up the pizza. Martha appeared in the doorway, hovering like a concerned vulture. Poor dear, she cooed. I knew that second slice was too much. Julia, you really should monitor her portions more carefully. I bit back a retort, focusing instead on comforting Emma. It's okay, baby. Mommy's here. Perhaps, Martha suggested, Emma should sleep in my room tonight. I have more experience with sick children, after all. Absolutely not. The words came out sharper than I intended. Julia! Ryan's voice carried from the hallway. Mom's just trying to help. I helped Emma rinse her mouth, my mind racing. This was Martha's game, death by 1,000 cuts, each small criticism and intervention designed to paint me as an incompetent mother. Later, after Emma had finally fallen asleep in her own bed, I found Ryan in his home office. We need to talk about your mother. He sighed without looking up from his laptop. Can we not do this tonight? I have a presentation tomorrow. She took our photo album. What? That got his attention. She's holding it hostage until I prove I'm a better mother. Ryan rubbed his temples. Jules, that doesn't even make sense. Mom wouldn't... Check her room, I challenged. Right now. I'll wait. He stared at me for a long moment before standing. Fine, but when we don't find anything, I want you to drop this attitude toward my mother. I followed him to Martha's door, where we found it locked, a first since she'd moved in. Ryan knocked. Mom? You awake? Just a moment, darling. Martha's voice was followed by suspicious rustling sounds. When she opened the door, her smile was too bright, too rehearsed. Behind her, I caught a glimpse of something familiar being hastily shoved under her pillow, the corner of a blue album cover I would recognize anywhere. Ryan saw it too. His shoulders tensed, but before he could speak, Martha launched into a story about feeling unwell and needing her rest. As we walked away, I watched my husband's face carefully. The crack in his perfect image of his mother was tiny, but it was there, and I intended to make it bigger. The email from Emma's school glowed accusingly on my phone screen. My daughter had been enrolled in 3 new after-school activities: advanced math tutoring, competitive gymnastics, and Chinese lessons. I hadn't signed up for any of them. My brother David set a steaming cup of coffee in front of me. We were hiding out in his restaurant's back office, the only place I could think straight anymore. Show me that email again. I handed him my phone. The enrollment forms were signed last week, while I was at that dentist appointment. Jesus, David muttered, scrolling through the message. Martha's got some nerve, signing Emma up for all this without telling you. She used Ryan's email address. He probably hasn't even noticed the confirmations coming in. I wrapped my hands around the coffee mug, trying to stop them from shaking. You should see Emma, David. She's exhausted, 6 years old and scheduled down to the minute. Have you told Ryan? He's barely home. When he is, Martha's always there, hovering, controlling the narrative. The coffee burned my tongue, but I welcomed the pain. This morning, she told him I forgot to pack Emma's lunch. I didn't forget. She hid the lunch I made and packed her own. A knock at the office door made me jump. One of David's waitresses poked her head in. Sorry to interrupt, but there's a call for Julia. Says it's about Emma. My heart stopped. I grabbed the phone from David's desk. Hello? Mrs. Harrison? This is Nurse Chen from Riverside Elementary. Emma's feeling unwell. She got dizzy during her lunch break and... Dizzy? Is she okay? She's resting now. Your mother-in-law is already here to pick her up. No! The word exploded from me. Do not release my daughter to anyone but me. I'm on my way. I found them in the nurse's office. Martha perched on the edge of Emma's cot, stroking her hair. My daughter's face was pale, dark circles under her eyes that no 6-year-old should have. Julia, Martha's voice dripped concern. You didn't need to leave your... Whatever you were doing, I had everything under control. Emma, baby, how are you feeling? I knelt beside the cot, opposite Martha. Tired, Mommy, my head hurts. Of course she's tired, Martha said. Children need structure, discipline. These new programs will help build her character. Programs you signed her up for without my knowledge or consent. Martha's eyes narrowed. Ryan agreed. Ryan doesn't know, does he? You forged the signatures, used his email, just like you've been going through my phone, deleting messages from the school. I don't know what you're talking about. But her hand tightened on Emma's shoulder, making my daughter wince. Let go of her. Julia, you're being hysterical. This is exactly why I said, let go of my daughter. Nurse Chen appeared in the doorway, sensing the tension. Is everything all right? No, I said, pulling out my phone. It's not. I'm calling my husband. Martha's composure cracked. He's in an important meeting. About his daughter being in the nurse's office? About you forging his signature? Let's see what he thinks is important. I dialed, holding Martha's gaze. 1 ring, 2, 3. Jules, I'm kind of in the middle of something. Emma's in the nurse's office. She collapsed from exhaustion because your mother enrolled her in 3 extra programs without our permission. She forged your signature, Ryan, used your email. Check your deleted folders. You'll find the confirmations she tried to hide. Silence. Then, Mom did what? Martha was already gathering her things, backing toward the door. Ryan, darling, I can explain. But Ryan's voice had changed, hardened. Don't move, Mom. Jules, take Emma home. I'm leaving work now. I lifted Emma into my arms, her small body too light, too fragile. Martha blocked the doorway. This isn't over, she whispered, low enough that only I could hear. You have no idea what you're doing. No, Martha, I replied, feeling Emma's arms tighten around my neck. For the first time, I know exactly what I'm doing. As I carried Emma to the car, I felt something shift inside me. This wasn't just about the photo album anymore. This was war, and Martha had just lost her first major battle, but the look in her eyes told me she wasn't done fighting, not by a long shot. The box appeared on our doorstep 3 days after the school incident. No return address, just Emma's name in Martha's perfect cursive. Inside lay my wedding dress, carefully cut into precise, methodical strips. I stood in the kitchen, holding the mutilated silk when Ryan came home early. His face darkened at the sight. Mom's gone too far. He ran his fingers through his hair. I'll talk to her. Like you talked to her about the forged signatures? The words came out sharper than intended. She apologized, you accepted, and nothing changed. What do you want me to do, Jules? Throw her out? The front door opened before I could respond. Martha's voice carried from the hallway, accompanied by Emma's excited chatter. And then we can show Daddy your wonderful news. Ryan frowned. What news? Martha swept in, brandishing a piece of paper. Emma's been accepted into St. Catherine's Academy. Isn't it wonderful? My stomach dropped. St. Catherine's was 2 hours away. It's a boarding school, Martha continued, beaming. The same one Ryan attended. I took the liberty of submitting an application months ago, and they've offered her a full scholarship. Ryan took the acceptance letter, his expression unreadable. Mom, we never discussed. Of course, I knew Julia might object, Martha cut in, given her attachment issues. But Emma deserves the best education possible. Don't you agree? Emma tugged at my sleeve. Grandma says they have horses, Mommy. I crouched down to her level, fighting to keep my voice steady. Sweetie, why don't you go upstairs and start your homework? We need to talk about this as adults. Once Emma was gone, I turned to Martha. You had no right. I had every right. Martha's mask slipped, revealing something cold beneath. As a grandmother, as a former educator, as someone who wants more for Emma than this. She gestured dismissively at our home. Ryan, I said quietly, your mother just tried to send our daughter to boarding school without consulting us. Are you going to say anything? He stood there, still holding the acceptance letter, looking lost. It is a good school, Jules. Something inside me shattered. I need some air. I grabbed my keys, the shredded wedding dress still clutched in my other hand. Julia, don't be dramatic, Martha called after me. This is exactly why Emma needs proper guidance. I slammed the door on her words. 20 minutes later, I sat in David's office again, spreading the strips of my wedding dress across his desk. She's trying to take Emma. My voice sounded strange, distant. And Ryan, he's actually considering it. David examined one of the silk strips. This is a threat, Julia. She's showing you what she can do to your marriage, your family. I know. I picked up a piece of the dress, remembering how proud Martha had been at the wedding, all smiles and tears. She's been playing the long game. Every criticism, every helpful suggestion, every time she undermined my decisions, it was all leading to this. What are you going to do? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed, a text from Ryan. Come home, please, we need to talk. Another buzz, this time from an unknown number. I opened it and felt my blood freeze. Photos of me, taken without my knowledge over the past week, at David's restaurant, running errands, meeting my friend Sarah for coffee. The final image showed me embracing David outside his restaurant, the angle making our innocent hug appear intimate. A message followed. What would Ryan think about his wife's afternoon activities? Perhaps Emma really would be better off at boarding school. David read the messages over my shoulder and swore. That's it. We're going to the police. No. I stood up, something hardening inside me. Martha wants to play games? Fine. But she forgot something important. What's that? I gathered the strips of my wedding dress, each piece a reminder of Martha's escalating war against me. I'm not just fighting for my marriage anymore. I'm fighting for my daughter, and unlike Martha, I don't need to play dirty to win. Julia. I'm going home, I said, my voice steady for the first time in days. It's time to show Ryan exactly who his mother really is. The antique vase shattered against the hardwood floor, its pieces scattering like broken promises. I stood frozen in the hallway, watching Martha's performance begin. Emma! Her voice carried upstairs. Come down here this instant! I'd been heading to the kitchen when I'd overheard her whispered phone conversation. Of course I have a plan. When Julia confronts me about the photos, I'll make sure Emma takes the blame for something valuable. Then we'll see who's the responsible parent. The sound of Emma's footsteps pulled me back to the present. My daughter appeared at the top of the stairs, still in her pajamas. What happened? Emma's voice trembled. Martha's face twisted into a mask of stern disappointment. Did you knock over great-grandmother's vase while running in the house? The one I specifically told you to be careful around? I didn't. Emma was in her room, I said, stepping forward. I've been standing here the whole time. Martha's eyes narrowed. Julia, please. I saw her running past just moments ago. That's interesting. I pulled out my phone, showing the video I'd started recording the moment I heard her plan. Because I saw something very different. The color drained from Martha's face. You were spying on me? Mom, what's going on? Ryan appeared from his home office, drawn by the commotion. Martha's tears appeared on cue. Oh, Ryan, I was just trying to teach Emma about responsibility. And Julia? She's trying to turn everyone against me. By breaking your own vase, I played the video. Martha's voice filled the hallway. When Julia confronts me about the photos. What photos? Ryan asked. Martha lunged for my phone. I stepped back, letting her momentum carry her forward. She stumbled, catching herself against the wall. The ones she took of me without my consent. I pulled up the threatening messages. The ones she used to suggest I was having an affair with my own brother. Ryan took my phone, scrolling through the messages. His jaw tightened. Mom? She's twisting everything. Martha's voice rose hysterically. I was protecting you, protecting Emma. Julia's been sneaking around, meeting that brother of hers in secret. For coffee, I cut in. At his restaurant, in public. Because my own home hasn't felt safe since you moved in. Emma's small voice broke through the tension. Grandma broke the vase. I saw her from upstairs. Martha spun toward Emma. Darling, you're confused. You know how your mother fills your head with... Don't! Ryan's voice was ice. Don't you dare try to manipulate my daughter. Ryan, sweetheart. The boarding school application? He advanced toward his mother. The deleted emails, the forged signatures, and now this? Martha's facade cracked. Everything I did for this family. Julia's not good enough for you, can't you see that? She's turning Emma soft, making her weak. The only weakness I see, Ryan said quietly, is your grip on reality. I gathered Emma into my arms, feeling her tremble. Go pack a bag, sweetheart. We're going to spend a few days at Uncle David's. No one is going anywhere, Martha blocked the stairs. This is my family. I won't let you destroy it. Your family? Ryan's laugh was hollow. You've been destroying it piece by piece since you moved in. The photo album, Julia's wedding dress, and now this? You're the one tearing us apart. The wedding dress? Martha's smile turned cruel. She deserved it. Parading around like she belongs here, like she's worthy of the Harrison name. That's enough. Ryan pulled out his phone. I'm calling a car service. Pack your things, Mom. You're moving into a hotel tonight. Martha's mask shattered completely. You can't do this to me. I'm your mother. And I'm your son, watching you try to destroy my wife and traumatize my child. Ryan's voice broke. I chose this family. My family. It's time for you to leave. As Martha stormed upstairs, hurling threats and accusations, I held Emma closer. The broken vase glittered around us like the remnants of Martha's control, finally shattered beyond repair. But in the fragments, I saw something else. The reflection of my family, stronger in their brokenness, ready to rebuild without Martha's poisonous influence. The war wasn't over. Martha's retreat would only make her more dangerous. But for the first time, we were fighting together. The hotel lobby gleamed with polished marble and false promises. Martha sat across from us, perfectly composed in her designer suit, while a team of lawyers arranged papers on the mahogany table between us. It's quite simple, her lead attorney said. Either Emma attends St. Catherine's or Mrs. Harrison will pursue full grandparental rights. Ryan's hand tightened around mine. You can't be serious. Oh, but I am. Martha's smile never reached her eyes. I've documented everything. Julia's erratic behavior, her suspicious meetings, her attempts to alienate Emma from her family heritage. By family heritage, you mean you, I said. Martha's lawyer slid forward a thick folder. We have witness statements from Emma's teachers about Julia's frequent absences from school events, documentation of emotional manipulation, evidence of an inappropriate relationship with her brother. Those pictures were taken out of context, Ryan snapped. You orchestrated all of this. Did I? Martha leaned forward. Or did I simply observe a mother who's clearly unfit? The courts tend to favor stability, tradition, a prestigious boarding school education versus, what exactly? Afternoon cartoons and takeout dinners? I stared at the legal documents, my vision blurring. Months of Martha's careful groundwork spread before us, altered dates on photographs, carefully edited text messages, statements from concerned neighbors she'd cultivated. You've been planning this since you moved in, I whispered. I've been protecting my granddaughter. Martha's mask slipped, revealing something desperate underneath. Ryan, darling, surely you see that Emma deserves better, the same opportunities you had? I was miserable at boarding school, Ryan said quietly. You were challenged, shaped into success. Martha's voice hardened. Julia's making Emma soft, dependent. Just look at how the child clings to her. Because I'm her mother. For now. Martha nodded to her lawyer, who produced another document. We are prepared to be generous. Joint custody, with Emma attending St. Catherine's. Or we can make this very public, very messy. Your choice. Ryan started to speak, but his phone buzzed. He checked it, his face draining of color. What is it? I asked. He turned the phone toward me. On the screen, a news article showed David's restaurant, emergency vehicles crowding the street. The headline read, "Local restaurant shut down, health code violations." Tragic timing, Martha said softly. One might question the judgment of someone who associates with such questionable business practices. My brother's livelihood, destroyed in minutes, because of me, because he tried to help. You're destroying everyone I love, I said. No, Julia. You did that yourself by trying to come between me and my family. Martha stood, smoothing her jacket. You have 24 hours to decide. Emma's future at St. Catherine's, or a very public custody battle that will expose every flaw, every mistake, every secret you've tried to hide. She paused at the door. Oh, and Julia? I found your photo album. The memories you tried so desperately to preserve, they're gone now, just like everything else will be, unless you make the right choice. After she left, Ryan and I sat in silence, the weight of her ultimatum crushing us. We could fight, he said finally, and risk losing Emma completely? I pulled out my phone, showing him the latest text from David. Health inspectors came out of nowhere. Everything's gone, Jules. Everything. Julia? No. I stood up, my decision crystallizing like ice in my veins. I won't let her destroy anyone else I love. What are you saying? I picked up the boarding school acceptance papers, my hands steady despite the trembling in my heart. I'm saying we send Emma to St. Catherine's, and then... Then what? I thought of my shredded wedding dress, my burned photos, my brother's ruined business. Then I stopped playing by Martha's rules. She wants to teach Emma about family heritage? Fine. Let's show her what happens when you declare war on the wrong family. Ryan stared at me, seeing something new in my eyes, something that made him lean back slightly. Good. Because the woman who walked into this hotel was dead now, killed by Martha's final power play. And the one walking out? She had nothing left to lose. St. Catherine's Academy loomed before us, all Gothic spires and ivy-covered walls. Martha stood at the top of the stone steps, waiting to welcome her victory. Behind her, a photographer from the local paper adjusted his camera. Right on schedule, Martha called out. Emma, darling, come to grandmother. I kept hold of Emma's hand, Ryan flanking our other side. The manila envelope in my bag felt heavy with purpose. Julia, Martha's smile tightened. You're not planning to make a scene, are you? Think of the headlines. Oh, I am. I handed Emma's bag to Ryan and climbed the steps. In fact, I brought some headline suggestions of my own. Martha's lawyer emerged from the shadows. Mrs. Harrison, remember our agreement? The agreement's void. I pulled out my phone, dialing a number. David, you're on speaker. My brother's voice filled the space between us. Got the evidence right here, Jules. Health inspector confirmed it. Someone paid him to target the restaurant. Bank transfers, text messages, all trace back to a certain retired teacher's account. Martha's face hardened. Lies. Then there's this. I produced the manila envelope. Remember Mrs. Chen? Emma's nurse? Turns out she keeps excellent records, including the time you tried to convince her Emma was being neglected at home. I was protecting... and these... More papers spilled out. Your financial records. Every bribe, every manipulated situation, every person you paid to spy on me. Did you really think I'd just surrender? The photographer started snapping pictures. Martha lunged for him. Stop that! Why? I asked. Isn't this what you wanted? Public attention? Let's give them a real story. How a respected teacher orchestrated a campaign of harassment against her daughter-in-law. How she destroyed a local business, manipulated medical records, all to gain control of her granddaughter. You wouldn't dare. but fear had crept into Martha's voice. I'll ruin you. You already tried. Ryan stepped forward, Emma secure in his arms. But here's what's going to happen instead. You're going to drop this custody threat. You're going to publicly apologize to Julia and David. And you're going to disappear from our lives. Or what? I held up my phone. Or every newspaper in the state gets proof of your crimes. Every parent at your precious St. Catherine's learns what kind of woman you really are. Your reputation, your social standing, your whole carefully constructed image, gone. You can't prove? The nurse recorded your conversation, Martha. The health inspector kept his text messages. And your financial records? I smiled. Let's just say Ryan isn't the only one good with numbers. Martha's lawyer quietly gathered his papers and retreated. The photographer kept shooting, capturing her unraveling moment by moment. I am your mother, she hissed at Ryan. No. He met her gaze steadily. You're a woman who forgot that love isn't about control, that family isn't about power. Emma deserves better than your kind of legacy. Mommy? Emma's voice cut through the tension. Can we go home now? Martha made one last desperate grab for her granddaughter. I stepped between them, my voice low enough for only her to hear. You took my photos, my memories. You tried to take my daughter. But you forgot something crucial, Martha. You taught Ryan everything he knows about power plays and manipulation. And I learned from watching you, too. This isn't over, she whispered. Actually, it is. I turned to the photographer. I believe you have enough for your story. Respected teacher's attempted kidnapping scheme exposed should make quite a headline. Martha's face crumpled as she finally recognized her defeat. All her careful plans, her manipulations, her power, useless against the simple truth she'd tried to bury. Love doesn't need schemes or control. It just needs to be real. As we walked away, Emma's hand warm in mine, Ryan's arm steady around us both, I heard Martha's broken whisper behind us. What have you done? I didn't turn around. She already knew the answer. I'd done exactly what she taught me to do. Protect my family at any cost. The difference was, I'd won by telling the truth, not by burying it. And that would haunt her more than any revenge I could have planned. The small box arrived on a Tuesday, addressed to Emma in Martha's unmistakable handwriting. I turned it over in my hands, feeling its negligible weight, while Ryan watched from across the kitchen table. We could throw it away, he offered. I shook my head. She deserves to choose. Emma sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by the art supplies from her 7th birthday party last week. She barely glanced at the package. Is it from Grandma Martha? Yes, sweetheart. She returned to her drawing. I don't want it. Ryan and I exchanged looks. In the 3 months since St. Catherine's, Martha's carefully constructed world had crumbled. The newspaper story had exposed everything, the bribes, the manipulation, the orchestrated campaign against our family. She'd retreated to a small apartment across town, her social circle evaporating as quickly as her reputation. Maybe we should see what it is, I suggested, though part of me wanted to burn it unopened. Emma shrugged, so I carefully unwrapped the package. Inside lay my missing photo album, its blue cover faded but intact. A note rested on top. I kept them safe. With trembling fingers, I opened the album. Every photo was there, perfectly preserved. Emma's birth, her first steps, family vacations and quiet moments at home. Martha hadn't destroyed them after all. Look, Emma. I knelt beside her. These are all our memories. She finally looked up, her small fingers tracing a photo of herself as a toddler. Why did Grandma Martha take them? Sometimes, Ryan said, joining us on the floor, people do wrong things because they're afraid of losing what they love. Did she love us wrong? Yes, I answered, surprising myself with the gentleness in my voice. But that doesn't mean we have to love wrong in return. Emma considered this, then reached for her art supplies. She selected a recent photo from her birthday party, one showing her blowing out candles while Ryan and I watched, David capturing the moment on his new camera. Carefully, she pasted it into the album's final empty page. There, she declared. Now it's finished properly. The doorbell rang. Through the window, I saw David's car in the driveway. He'd been coming over more often since reopening his restaurant, bringing food and stories and the kind of laughter we'd almost forgotten how to share. "Uncle David!" Emma ran to greet him. I started to close the album, but Ryan caught my hand. "We could send her a copy," he said quietly, "of Emma's birthday photo." "Why?" "Because you won." He squeezed my fingers. "You protected our family without becoming what she feared you were. Maybe that's worth acknowledging." I thought about Martha, alone in her apartment, surrounded by the consequences of her choices. "Would you have sent her away if I hadn't gathered the evidence?" "I don't know." His honesty was like a balm. "But I'm grateful you showed me the truth, even when it hurt." David appeared in the doorway, Emma on his hip. "Who's ready for my new pasta recipe, and why does my favorite niece have glitter in her hair?" "I'm your only niece," Emma giggled. As they headed to the kitchen, I picked up the photo album, weighing its history in my hands. The last page caught my eye, Emma's birthday photo, but something else too. She'd drawn around it, creating a frame of hearts and stars. And at the bottom, in her careful first-grade handwriting, my family. No mention of who was missing, no space left empty for what was lost, just the simple truth of who remained, who chose to love right instead of hold tight. I took a fresh envelope from Ryan's desk and slipped the birthday photo inside. On a small card, I wrote only, "Emma's 7th birthday. She's happy. No accusations, no triumph, just an offered moment, a glimpse of the joy Martha had tried too hard to control." Whether she'd understand it as mercy or torment, I couldn't say. But as I sealed the envelope, I realized it didn't matter anymore. We had our memories back, but more importantly, we were making new ones, better ones. Ones where love didn't need to be earned or proved, it just needed to be given, freely and without conditions. That would be our legacy to Emma. And maybe, somewhere in her solitude, Martha would finally understand what she'd lost by trying to possess it instead.
The call came during my lunch break, Ryan's voice cracking with an urgency I'd never heard before. "Get out of the house now, Tessa. Don't pack, don't ask questions. Just go to your parents' place and wait for me there." I gripped my phone tighter, my sandwich forgotten on my desk. "Ryan, what's going on? Please just trust me on this. I'll explain everything later." The line went dead. My hands trembled as I gathered my purse. The marketing proposal I'd spent weeks perfecting lay abandoned on my computer screen. 3 months of marriage, and already my world was tilting on its axis. Taking off early? Sarah from accounting peered over her cubicle wall. Family emergency. The words tasted bitter. I'd used the same excuse last week when Margaret, my mother-in-law, had orchestrated another of her impromptu family dinners, the ones where she'd parade Clara around like some sort of trophy daughter-in-law that never was. The drive home was a blur of red lights and horn blasts. My mind raced through possibilities, each worse than the last. Had something happened to Frank? Was Margaret finally making her move to destroy our marriage? Or was it Clara, with her perfectly timed appearances and lingering touches on Ryan's arm? I pulled into our driveway, half expecting to find the house in flames. Instead, everything looked exactly as I'd left it this morning. The newspaper still on the porch, my gardening gloves draped over the railing. The normalcy felt wrong, somehow more threatening than any visible danger. My phone buzzed. A text from Clara. "Heard about Ryan's call. Just checking if you're okay. We're all worried." We. That single word sent ice through my veins. How did she know about the call? And who exactly was we? I deleted the message without responding and dialed Ryan again. Straight to voicemail. Inside the house, everything seemed undisturbed, but the air felt heavy with secrets. I grabbed my laptop and a few essential documents from our home office. Whatever was happening, I wasn't walking into it blind. Another text buzzed through, Margaret this time. "Dear, perhaps we should talk before you do anything rash. Family matters are best handled within the family." I laughed, a harsh sound in the empty house. Family. Right. Because she treated me like family from day one, hadn't she? With her subtle digs about my career, her constant reminiscing about Ryan and Clara's childhood together, her pointed comments about traditional values. The front door creaked. I froze, clutching my laptop to my chest. "Tessa." Clara's voice floated through the hallway. "Your car's outside." I know you're home. I slipped into the kitchen, my heart hammering. Through the window, I could see Paul's car idling in the street, Clara's brother waiting behind the wheel. We're just trying to help, Clara called out, her footsteps moving closer. Margaret's worried sick about Ryan. He's not been himself lately, has he? Ever since the wedding. I eased open the back door, thankful I'd had it oiled last week. Clara's voice continued, honey sweet and reasonable, as I crept along the side of the house. My phone vibrated again. Ryan? Don't let them find you. Almost there. 10 minutes. I ran. Past the garden where Margaret had criticized my choice of flowers. Past the fence Ryan and I had painted together on our first weekend as homeowners. Past all the dreams I'd had of belonging to this family. As I pulled out of the neighborhood, I caught a glimpse of Clara in my rearview mirror, standing in our driveway with her phone pressed to her ear. She wasn't smiling anymore. I drove to my parents' house with my hands clenched on the steering wheel, my wedding ring catching the afternoon sun. Whatever game they were playing, whatever trap they'd set, they'd chosen the wrong woman to underestimate. I sat at my parents' kitchen table, staring at the family photos lining their walls. Happy faces, genuine smiles. Nothing like the brittle pleasantries at the Morgan family dinners. The memory of last week's disaster surfaced, sharp as broken glass. More wine, Tessa dear? Margaret had held the bottle over my glass, not waiting for an answer. Clara, you remember how Ryan used to hate red wine until you introduced him to that lovely Bordeaux on your trip to France? Clara's laugh had tinkled like wind chimes. Oh, that was ages ago. Before university, wasn't it, Ryan? I'd watched my husband's face tighten. I don't remember that trip. Of course you do, Margaret had insisted. It was right after that summer you two dated. The silence that followed had been deafening. Ryan had never mentioned dating Clara. Not once in our 2 years together. Now, sitting in my childhood home, I pulled out my phone and scrolled through old social media posts. There they were, Ryan and Clara, tagged in countless photos over the years. Family vacations, holiday celebrations, casual dinners. In every image, Clara stood just a little too close, her hand always finding its way to Ryan's arm or shoulder. The doorbell rang, startling me from my investigation. Through the peephole, I saw Frank Morgan shifting nervously on the porch. Tessa. His voice was barely above a whisper. Can we talk? I opened the door but blocked the entrance. Does Margaret know you're here? He shook his head, looking older than his 62 years. She thinks I'm at the hardware store. May I come in? In the kitchen, Frank's hands trembled as he accepted a cup of coffee. I should have said something sooner. About Clara, about all of it. Why now? Because I heard them planning. He stared into his cup. Margaret and Clara, they were in the garden yesterday, talking about your honeymoon next month. My stomach clenched. What about it? Clara's brother Paul. He's been following you, taking pictures. They're going to send them to Ryan, edited to make it look like. He trailed off, unable to finish. The coffee turned bitter in my mouth. That's why Ryan called me today? Because of their photos. Frank nodded. He found them on his computer this morning. Clara must have uploaded them when she was over for dinner. She's not well, Tessa. Her obsession with Ryan, it's gotten worse since the wedding. And Margaret encourages it. Margaret sees what she wants to see. She's always viewed Clara as the daughter she never had. He met my eyes. The daughter she could control. My phone buzzed, another text from Clara. Just talk to Ryan. He's worried about your mental state. We all are. Let's meet and sort this out. I showed Frank the message. His face crumpled. They'll try to isolate you, make you look unstable. It's what they did to Ryan's last girlfriend before you. Margaret convinced everyone the poor girl was mentally ill, spreading rumors about the family. What happened to her? She moved away. Changed her name, I think. Frank stood, his coffee untouched. I should go. But Tessa, be careful. Margaret's been playing these games for 40 years. She's very good at them. After he left, I sat alone in the growing darkness, pieces clicking into place. The constant surveillance, the orchestrated run-ins with Clara, the subtle undermining of my confidence. They'd been laying groundwork for months. My phone lit up with Ryan's message. On my way. Don't trust anything they say. I have proof. I walked to my old bedroom, where a photo album from my wedding day sat on the bookshelf. Flipping through it, I found what I was looking for. A candid shot of Clara watching Ryan during our first dance. Her expression wasn't one of friendly affection or even jealousy. It was hunger. The front door opened downstairs. Footsteps on the stairs, too heavy to be my parents. Tessa. Ryan's voice. Are you up here? I closed the album, my decision made. They wanted to play games? Fine. But they'd forgotten something crucial. In marketing, my entire career was built on understanding human nature and manipulating perceptions. Time to show them how it's really done. Ryan spread the doctored photos across my parents' dining room table. Each one told a carefully crafted lie. Me embracing Paul in shadowy doorways, slipping into hotel lobbies, sharing intimate conversations in cafes. The timestamps matched days I'd been working late at the office. Clara's brother has been following you for weeks, Ryan said, his voice tight. They planted these on my work computer this morning, along with emails they'd fabricated between you and Paul. I picked up one photo, studying how they'd manipulated the lighting to make an innocent business lunch look like a clandestine meeting. Your mother's fingerprints are all over this. She slipped up. Ryan pulled out his phone, playing a voice recording. Margaret's voice filled the room. Once Ryan sees these, he'll have to admit Tessa isn't who he thinks she is. Clara will be there to help him through it, just like before. My fingers clenched around the photo. Before. Ryan's face darkened. Remember what Dad said about my last girlfriend? There's more. Clara created a similar setup with doctored photos back then. But this time, he hesitated. This time she made a mistake. Left metadata on the original photos showing when they were actually taken. A text lit up my phone, Clara again. Ryan's not thinking clearly. Let me help fix this. I care about both of you. She's getting desperate, I said, showing Ryan the message. There's something else. He pulled out a USB drive. Dad found this in Mom's study. It's everything, years of manipulation. Photos she edited, emails she faked, even a journal where she planned how to break up my relationships. She's been grooming Clara as my backup plan since high school. The front door opened downstairs. My parents' voices drifted up, followed by another, Frank's. They're here, Frank called up. Margaret and Clara. They followed me. Ryan moved to the window. Paul's car is blocking the driveway. I gathered the photos, my marketing brain already spinning possibilities. Let them come up. I want to hear how they explain these timestamps. Tessa. Ryan touched my arm. They're dangerous when cornered. So am I. Footsteps on the stairs. Clara appeared first, all concerned smiles and gentle hands. Oh, thank goodness you're both here. We've been so worried. Margaret followed, her face a mask of maternal concern. Ryan, darling, step away from her. You don't know what she's capable of. I held up one of the doctored photos. Interesting choice of editing software, Clara. Adobe's timestamp feature is quite revealing. Color drained from Clara's face. Margaret stepped forward, reaching for the photo. You're confused, dear. Those pictures. Show Paul following me for weeks? I pulled out my phone, clicking play on a recording app. Or show how you and Clara plan to plant them on Ryan's computer. Because I have to say, discussing criminal conspiracy in your garden wasn't very smart. You recorded us? Clara's voice shook. No. Frank stepped into the doorway. I did. Margaret whirled on her husband. You wouldn't dare. I already have. Frank's voice was steady. I sent copies to everyone, family, friends, Clara's fiancé. Even that private investigator you hired last year to follow Tessa. Turns out he has quite a conscience when he learns he's been manipulated into participating in stalking. Clara lunged for the photos, but Ryan blocked her path. It's over, Clara. All of it. You don't understand, Clara whispered. We were meant to be together. Your mother promised. My mother promised a lot of things, Ryan cut in. To a lot of people. But she doesn't control me anymore. And neither do you. I watched Clara's facade crack, years of obsession and manipulation showing through. She turned to Margaret, desperate. Tell him about the plan, about how we were going to fix everything. But Margaret was staring at Frank, 30 years of control slipping through her fingers. You weak, pathetic man. After everything I've done for this family. That's exactly why I did it, Frank said quietly. For our family. Our real family. I stepped forward, my voice steady. You have two choices. Leave now and never contact us again, or we take everything, the photos, the recordings, the evidence of stalking, to the police. Clara's face contorted. You wouldn't. I met her gaze, letting her see the truth. Try me. The silence stretched, heavy with decades of manipulation and lies. Then Margaret turned, her shoulders stiff with fury, and walked out. Clara remained, staring at Ryan with naked longing. Clara, I said softly, don't make me prove how far I'll go to protect what's mine. She fled, her sobs echoing down the stairs. But I felt no victory, only a cold certainty that this was just the beginning. The email arrived at midnight. A single photo attachment from an anonymous account. My hand shook as I opened it. Margaret and Clara outside a psychiatric facility, dated 3 years ago. The caption read, Ask Ryan about Jessica. I stared at my sleeping husband on my parents' guest bed. His face troubled even in rest. Jessica. The name scratched at something in my memory. A whispered conversation at our wedding reception, quickly silenced when I'd approached. My phone buzzed. Frank. Need to meet. Alone. The diner on 5th. Now. Ryan stirred. Everything okay? Just work. I lied, the words bitter on my tongue. Go back to sleep. The diner was empty except for Frank, hunched over a coffee cup. When I slid into the booth, he pushed a manila envelope across the table. Jessica Martinez, he said. Ryan's fiancée before Clara orchestrated her breakdown. Inside the envelope, newspaper clippings told the story. Jessica Martinez, promising young attorney, committed after a public breakdown. Released 6 months later, she disappeared completely. Clara didn't just want to break them up, Frank continued. She wanted to destroy Jessica. And Margaret helped. How? The same way they're trying with you. Small things at first, moving items in Jessica's house, sending emails from fake accounts, arranging coincidental meetings that made her look unstable. He paused. Ryan never knew the full truth. He thought Jessica's breakdown was real. My coffee grew cold as Frank detailed their methodology. The gaslighting, the carefully planted evidence, the slow isolation from friends and family. Why tell me this now? Because they're escalating faster with you. They learned from their mistakes with Jessica. Frank's hands trembled. Margaret's already contacted your firm's HR department. Anonymous concerns about your mental health. The diner's fluorescent lights suddenly felt too bright. Ryan would never believe. Ryan believed it about Jessica. Frank's eyes were haunted. He trusted his mother's concern then. And Clara. She's perfected her role as the supportive friend. My phone lit up with a text from Clara. Ryan's worried about you sneaking out at night. Let me help before things get worse. They're watching the house, I realized. Frank nodded. Paul's car. 2 blocks down. I scrolled through my photos, finding the one from my wedding. Clara watching Ryan during our first dance. The hunger in her eyes matched the woman who'd stood outside that psychiatric facility. There's something else, Frank said. Jessica didn't just disappear. The diner's door chimed. Clara walked in, her concerned smile perfectly practiced. Oh, thank goodness, she gushed. Ryan's been frantic. He woke up and you were gone. She reached for my arm. I jerked away. Don't touch me. Sweetie, you're not well. We can all see it. Her voice dripped sympathy. The paranoia, the late-night wanderings, the accusations. Just like poor Jessica. Clara. Frank's voice held a warning. She ignored him. Ryan's waiting outside. Let's get you home, get you help. Before you hurt yourself. Through the diner's windows, I saw Ryan's car pulling up. Margaret in the passenger seat. The trap was closing. I stood, my chair scraping loudly. You know what happened to Jessica, don't you? Clara's mask slipped for just a moment. Jessica was sick. She needed help. No. The revelation hit like lightning. She figured it out. That's why she disappeared. She wasn't running from a breakdown. She was running from you. Tessa. Ryan's voice from the doorway. Mom told me about the HR complaints. About your behavior. I met his eyes, seeing the doubt there. The same doubt that had probably clouded his judgment with Jessica. But I wasn't Jessica. Tell him, Clara, I said softly. Tell him about the facility. About the photos. Clara's composure cracked. Ryan, she's confused. The timestamps don't lie. I pulled out my phone, showing the anonymous email. Neither do psychiatric facility visitor logs. Should we call them? See who visited Jessica before her breakdown? The diner fell silent. In that moment, I saw my choices clearly. Run like Jessica or stand and fight. And I'd never been good at running. Ryan, I said, not breaking eye contact with Clara, I think it's time you heard the whole story about your ex-fiancé. The package arrived 3 days after the diner confrontation. No return address, just my name in careful handwriting. Inside, a USB drive and a note. You're not the first. You won't be the last. J. My hands trembled as I plugged it into my laptop. Video files, dozens of them, showing Clara and Margaret's methodical destruction of Jessica Martinez. Security footage, phone recordings, emails, a digital breadcrumb trail of calculated madness. I found Jessica. Ryan's voice made me jump. He stood in the doorway of our temporary bedroom at my parents' house, his face ashen. She's in Seattle, working under her mother's maiden name. Did you talk to her? She agreed to video call. Tonight. He sat heavily on the bed. She said Clara visited her in the facility, told her if she ever came back, there'd be worse consequences than a psychiatric hold. My phone buzzed. Clara's fiancé, James. Can we meet? Something's not right with Clara. I showed Ryan the message. It's probably a trap. Or an opportunity. Ryan's jaw tightened. James needs to know what he's getting into. The cafe was crowded enough to feel safe. James sat alone, turning his coffee cup nervously. When he saw us, his face crumpled. Clara's pregnant, he blurted out. At least, that's what she told Margaret. But when I called her doctor, let me guess, I said. No record of pregnancy. He nodded. And I found these. He slid his phone across the table. Photos of Clara outside our house watching through windows. Dozens of them spanning months. She doesn't know I saw them. My phone lit up, Frank. Margaret's gone. Cleared out her accounts this morning. They're making their move, Ryan muttered. James leaned forward. There's more. Clara's been meeting someone at the psychiatric facility where Jessica stayed. A doctor. They're building a case. The cafe door chimed. Clara walked in, her face a perfect mask of concern. Behind her, Paul blocked the exit. James, darling. Her voice dripped honey. I've been so worried. When Mother Morgan said you were meeting them. She placed a protective hand over her non-existent pregnancy. Stop lying, Clara. James stood. I know about the photos. About Jessica. Clara's mask slipped, just for a moment. They've poisoned you against me. Just like they're trying to poison everyone. She turned to the other customers. My fiancé's sister is mentally ill. We're just trying to get her help. People started staring. Phones came out. Recording this? I stood slowly. Good. Because Clara Bennett and Margaret Morgan are about to be famous for all the wrong reasons. You don't want to do this, Paul warned, moving closer. Actually, I do. I opened my laptop, turning it to face the growing crowd. Jessica Martinez sent me something interesting. Want to see how they drove her to a breakdown? Or should we start with the fake pregnancy records Clara's been creating? Clara lunged for the laptop. You stupid bitch. There it is. Ryan's voice cut through the chaos. He held up his phone, recording. The real Clara Bennett. She froze, realizing her mistake. The cafe had gone silent. Dozens of phones capturing her transformation from concerned friend to snarling aggressor. Where's my mother? Ryan asked quietly. Clara's laugh was brittle. Somewhere you'll never find her. She's making sure everything's ready. For when Tessa has her inevitable breakdown. You mean like this? I pressed play on Jessica's video. Clara's voice filled the cafe. Just sign the commitment papers, Jessica. Admit you're unstable, and this all goes away. James backed away from Clara, horror dawning on his face. What have you done? What I had to do. Clara's composure cracked completely. He was supposed to be mine. Margaret promised. After Jessica, After every other girl she helped me eliminate. She turned to Ryan desperate. We were meant to be together. Your mother understood that. No, Ryan said softly. My mother used you. Just like she used everyone else. My phone buzzed one final time, an email from Jessica. Sending this to every news outlet now. Good luck. Clara saw the headline appear on my screen. Systematic gaslighting ring exposed. Prominent family's mental health manipulation scheme. In that moment, watching Clara's world implode, I felt no satisfaction. Only a bone-deep weariness and a single burning question. Where was Margaret and what final trap had she set? The answer came sooner than expected, as police sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. The police didn't come for Clara. They came for me. Tessa Morgan, the officer read from his tablet. You're wanted for questioning regarding allegations of stalking, harassment, and cyber threats against Clara Bennett and Margaret Morgan. The cafe had gone silent. Phones still recorded, but now they were pointed at me. Clara's mask of victimhood slipped perfectly back into place, tears streaming down her face. See, she whispered. This is exactly what we were afraid of. Ryan stepped forward. This is ridiculous. We have proof. Of elaborate forgeries, Paul interrupted, holding up a folder. Created by your wife to harass my sister. The metadata proves it. My laptop. The USB drive. Everything Jessica sent. They'd somehow corrupted it all, twisted it back against me. I watched the officer scroll through what looked like my emails, my photos, all doctored to show an obsession with destroying Clara's life. Check the timestamps. I started, but Clara cut in. Just like with Jessica, she sobbed. She's trying to recreate what happened, but making me the villain this time. The doctors warned us this might happen. My phone buzzed one last time before the officer confiscated it. Frank? Margaret's at your office. She's speaking to HR now. The pieces clicked together. While we'd been focused on Clara's breakdown, Margaret had been methodically destroying my credibility, my career, my life. Ryan. I turned to my husband, seeing doubt flicker across his face. Don't let them do this. He reached for me, but the officer stepped between us. Sir, given the nature of the allegations, you should maintain distance until. He's my husband. And my son. Margaret's voice cut through the chaos. She stood in the cafe doorway, elegant and composed. Who we're trying to protect from your escalating behavior. The room spun. Everything we'd gathered, every piece of evidence, they'd planned for it all, turned it against us, made me look exactly like Jessica. Obsessed, unstable, dangerous. The psychiatric hold is temporary, the officer said quietly. Just until. No. Ryan's voice cracked. Mom, stop this. Margaret touched his arm. Sweetheart, we tried to handle this privately. But after what happened at the office today. What happened at the office? My voice sounded distant, strange. Security footage of you threatening Clara this morning, Paul supplied smoothly. Very convincing performance. But I hadn't been near the office. I'd been. The realization hit like ice water. They'd planned this months ago. Built their case while we thought we were building ours. Show them, I whispered to Ryan. Jessica's video call tonight. Already handled, Margaret said softly. The real Jessica Martinez called earlier, very disturbed by your attempts to impersonate her. She's willing to testify about your obsession with her story. Clara stepped closer, her voice gentle. Let them help you, Tessa. Like they helped me understand my feelings about Ryan weren't healthy. The ultimate twist, making Clara the reformed obsessive and me the new threat. I looked at James, still clutching his phone. The photos weren't taken by Clara, Paul finished. The metadata shows they came from your phone. Stalking her, building your case. Very thorough. The officer took my arm. Through the cafe window, I saw the news vans arriving. Margaret had orchestrated every detail, down to the public breakdown they'd predicted I'd have. Ryan, I tried one last time, but Clara was already beside him, playing the supportive friend. We'll take care of him, Margaret promised, while you get the help you need. As they led me out, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the cafe window. Wild-eyed, disheveled, exactly how they wanted me to look. How they planned for me to look. The news cameras rolled as I was guided into the police car. Through the window, I watched Clara comfort Ryan, Margaret standing protectively nearby. The perfect family tableau, with me cast as the unstable outsider who tried to destroy their happiness. "Don't worry," the officer said kindly. "The facility has an excellent reputation. The same facility where Jessica had been held, where Clara had threatened her, where they'd perfected their technique." The car door closed, sealing me in silence. In the rearview mirror, I saw Margaret smile. The facility's visitor room smelled of artificial lavender and despair. 3 days of observation had taught me their routines, their blind spots. Now I waited, watching Margaret and Clara arrange themselves across the table, their faces masks of rehearsed concern. "The doctors say you're not cooperating," Margaret began. I smiled, the same empty smile Clara had perfected. "How's Ryan?" "Worried sick," Clara answered quickly. "He wanted to come, but you couldn't risk him seeing the real Jessica Martinez, could you?" Their mask slipped just slightly. Margaret recovered first. "The delusions are getting worse. Dr. Andrews warned us." "Dr. Andrews?" I placed a USB drive on the table. "The same one who helped you forge Jessica's commitment papers? He's been very cooperative since the FBI started investigating medical fraud." Clara's hand trembled as she reached for her water glass. "You're lying." "Am I?" I turned to the observation window. "Frank." The door opened. Frank walked in, followed by Ryan and a woman I recognized from Jessica's photos. The real Jessica Martinez. "Hello, Clara," Jessica said softly. "It's been 3 years." Margaret stood so quickly her chair toppled. "This is inappropriate. My daughter-in-law is having an episode." "Your daughter-in-law," Ryan cut in, "has been working with federal investigators for the past 72 hours. Every conversation in this facility is recorded, including your little chat with Dr. Andrews yesterday." Clara lunged for the door, but Frank blocked her path. "Paul confessed everything," he said. "About the faked photos, the forged emails. He took a plea deal this morning." "You don't understand," Clara whispered, turning to Ryan. "Everything I did was for us. Margaret promised." "Margaret promised a lot of things," Jessica interrupted. "To a lot of women. How many were there before me, Margaret? How many lives did you and Clara destroy to keep Ryan under your control?" I stood, finally letting my mask fall. "The thing about marketing? We understand patterns. Narratives. Once Jessica reached out, it wasn't hard to find the others. 6 women. 6 mental breakdowns. 6 lives destroyed. You planned this," Margaret hissed. "Used your own commitment to trap us." I learned from the best. I moved closer, watching her facade crack. "But unlike you, I had something you never expected. Actual proof. Actual witnesses. And a husband who chose me." Clara screamed, a raw sound of desperation, and threw herself at Ryan. "She's lying. Just like the others. I'm the only one who truly loves you." The orderlies rushed in, but it was Jessica who spoke, her voice cutting through Clara's hysteria. "That's exactly what you said before you visited me here. Before you told me what would happen if I ever came back." Ryan stepped away from Clara's grasping hands. "It's over, Clara. The FBI has everything. The fake documents, the surveillance footage, Dr. Andrews' confession. Even Mom's offshore accounts where she paid everyone off." Margaret's composure finally shattered. "You ungrateful." She lunged at me, but the orderlies were faster. I watched them restrain both women, their carefully constructed world crumbling around them. "You know what your biggest mistake was?" I asked softly, assuming I'd play by your rules. "That I'd break like the others." "You'll regret this," Margaret spat as they led her away. "You have no idea what I'm still capable of." "Actually," Frank interrupted, "we do. That's why I gave the FBI access to all your private accounts this morning, including the ones in the Caymans." Clara's sobs echoed down the hallway. Ryan took my hand as Jessica spoke with the federal agents. "I'm sorry," he whispered, "for doubting even for a moment." I squeezed his hand, watching Margaret and Clara being led away in handcuffs instead of me. "You came through when it mattered." Frank touched my shoulder. "The others are here. The women Margaret and Clara targeted. They're ready to testify." I nodded, feeling the weight of the past weeks finally lifting. We'd won, but the victory felt hollow somehow. Looking at Clara's broken form and Margaret's hatred, I realized revenge wasn't what I'd really wanted. Justice was. And as I walked out of the facility a free woman, I knew we'd found something better than revenge. We'd found truth. And sometimes that's the greatest victory of all. The courtroom emptied slowly after Margaret's sentencing. 20 years for conspiracy, fraud, and false imprisonment. Clara had taken a plea deal, trading testimony for a lighter sentence. Paul would serve 5 years for his role. Justice served cold and clean. I lingered in my seat, staring at the judge's empty bench, until Ryan touched my shoulder. Ready? Almost. I pulled out an old photograph I'd found while packing up his childhood home. Margaret, much younger, stood beside another woman who shared her calculating smile. The back read, "Margaret and Helen, sisters in arms." "Dad confirmed it this morning," I said. "Your Aunt Helen did the same thing to him that Margaret tried to do to you. Isolated him, controlled his relationships. It wasn't just about keeping you. It was about recreating her sister's perfect family fantasy." Ryan studied the photo. Helen died in a psychiatric facility. Dad always said she had problems, but now we know what really happened. I handed him another photo. Helen with a young Margaret, teaching her the art of manipulation. The pattern started long before us. Frank waited by the courthouse steps with Jessica and the other survivors. 6 women whose lives Margaret and Clara had nearly destroyed. Now they stood tall, unbroken. "The support group meets next week," Jessica said. "We're calling it Phoenix Rising." She smiled. "From the ashes, you know?" I watched them share knowing looks, these women who'd faced the same darkness I had. Their strength wasn't in revenge or even justice. It was in refusing to let the experience define them. "The house is almost packed up," Frank said. "Found this in Margaret's study." He handed me a leather-bound journal. "Might help explain some things. Or not. Sometimes understanding the monster doesn't make it less monstrous." Inside, Margaret's elegant handwriting detailed decades of manipulation. Not just of Ryan but of everyone around her. The last entry, dated the day before her arrest, read, "Tessa sees the game now. But she doesn't understand. It's not about winning. It's about playing forever." She thought she was teaching me. I realized. Every move, every countermove, she was grooming me to become her, just like Helen groomed her. Ryan took the journal, his face troubled. "We could burn it. End the pattern here." "No." I closed the journal firmly. "It belongs in evidence. For the next time someone like Margaret tries to play these games." We walked to our car, leaving the courthouse and its justice behind. Frank headed to his new apartment, free from Margaret's shadow. Jessica and the others dispersed, carrying their victory like shields against future darkness. At home, our real home, not the battlefield it had become, I found one last photo that Margaret had hidden. Ryan as a child, smiling genuinely, before his mother's manipulation had dimmed his light. Before Clara had been positioned as his savior. Before the games began. "We're having dinner with your parents tonight," Ryan said, watching me study the photo. "Mom wants to hear about the support group. My mother's cooking. My father's bad jokes. Simple things that Margaret had tried to twist into weapons. But she'd failed, because she'd never understood what real family meant." The doorbell rang, a delivery. Inside the package, a letter from Clara, forwarded by her lawyer. I started to tear it up, then stopped. Understanding the past didn't mean letting it control our future. I placed the unopened letter in a box with Margaret's journal and the old photos. Evidence of a pattern we'd broken. A legacy we'd refused to inherit. "Ready for dinner?" Ryan asked. I looked around our home at the life we were reclaiming. The shadows were still there, but they no longer held power. Margaret had wanted to teach me her game, but she'd taught me something else instead. How to end it. "Ready," I said, leaving the box of shadows behind. Sometimes victory isn't in winning the game. It's in refusing to play. And sometimes the best revenge is simply living well, on your own terms in the light.